Back in the 70s, your grandma could buy a smashing brand new car for around $3,000. Today, that's not even enough for a pair of headlights. Did cars get that much better, or did your money just get weaker? What if I told you that the Federal Reserve wants your money to be worth less every single year? It sounds like a scam, but most central banks actually target a 2% inflation rate on purpose. But why? In this video, I will discuss what inflation is and why it happens. First, what is inflation? Inflation is an economic situation where your money can buy fewer goods and services than before. What that means is that your money has lost its purchasing power. Think about this. If inflation runs at 3% in a year, then what used to cost $100 will now cost $103. Economists measure inflation through what is called the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. It tracks the changes in prices that you buy for a basket of goods and services like food, housing, transportation, health, and many more. The CPI is like the economic temperature of an entire nation. But here's what's interesting. Did you know that a little bit of inflation is actually considered healthy for an economy? So good that most central banks, including the Federal Reserve in the United States, target around 2% inflation year after year. Deflation, or when prices actually fall, is far more dangerous than moderate inflation. And we will explore this in a bit. But for now, let us find out why prices increase. What do you think happens if there's a lot of money in circulation? Prices will go up. Why? Because there is too much money going around for so few goods and services. Imagine being stuck on an island with 9 other people and 1 vendor. There are exactly 10 coconuts, and each person has $1. Simple economics tells us that coconuts will probably sell for about $1 each, since there's $10 total in 10 coconuts. What if a helicopter flies over and drops another $10 on the island, but no new coconuts appear? The economy now has $20, chasing the same 10 coconuts. So, the price goes up. Coconuts might now sell for $2 each because the amount of money doubled, but the amount of goods stayed the same. How does this happen? Well, since people have more money, some of them may be willing to spend more on one coconut than the others. And of course, the vendors will not resist a higher price. While this explanation is simplistic, this is monetary inflation in its purest form. In the real world, governments and central banks control the money supply. When they increase the supply, they're potentially setting the stage for inflation. Need an example? During the COVID-19 pandemic, governments worldwide injected trillions of dollars into their economies through stimulus programs. Yep, they printed money out of thin air and gave it away. Give it away, give it away, give it away now! Ugh! Many economists predicted this would cause inflation, and it did. Now, what if the demand is higher than the supply? If this happens, inflation will happen too. This is what you call demand pull inflation. It typically occurs during economic booms when employment is high, wages are rising, and consumer confidence is strong. People have money and they want to spend it. The housing market provides a perfect example for this. If construction workers and raw material producers cannot keep up with the demand for housing, the price for raw materials and labor will increase. Sometimes, inflation doesn't come from excessive demand. It comes from rising costs of production. This is called cost-push inflation. Imagine if you have a taxi business. Suddenly, the price of gasoline increases because of oil shortage. Naturally, you will also charge higher fares. You have no choice but to do it, even though customer demand hasn't changed at all. Your operating or capital costs are pushing prices upward. This happened dramatically during the oil crisis of the 1970s. When oil-producing countries restricted supply, the price of petroleum skyrocketed. Oil is used in transportation, manufacturing, plastics, and countless other applications. So, this single cost increase rippled through entire economies, causing widespread inflation. Now, here's where inflation gets psychological. Expectations. Once people expect inflation, it tends to perpetuate itself. This is called built-in inflation or expectation-driven inflation. If businesses expect their costs to rise, they will preemptively raise their prices too. And so this inflation becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, why is deflation dangerous? Is it not amazing if prices actually fall? Things are cheaper, so it must be good, right? Well, it can actually be economically catastrophic. You see, when prices fall, people also delay purchases. And when people do not buy, you are back to a state of recession. What is a recession anyway? Recession is an economic situation where people and businesses spend less than they used to. Maybe because they have no jobs, workers get laid off, and the economy slows down. What do you think will happen to the meat in this butcher shop? It gets spoiled. Less spending means a decrease in demand, and the decrease in demand means no reason for production and no reason to hire people. If people do not work, they do not earn, and they cannot spend. And since they cannot spend, nobody will produce goods. It is a vicious cycle, and it is why deflation, or when prices go down, can be bad for the economy. So, why does inflation happen? There is no single answer. When someone remembers buying a house on one paycheck, tell them that that economy no longer exists. Today's generation is not lazy. We're just paying today's prices with yesterday's wages. Inflation is real, and it can neither be purely good nor purely bad. Central banks and governments need to do a balancing act. They need to find that Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold. It must be just right. But I am not Goldilocks. I am Delilah. I want you to be too hot. And you can do that by liking, subscribing, and commenting. If you don't, I'm going to cry. But wait, why do we actually cry? Find out in this video.